Just like to welcome everybody as far as to this conference. We want to kind of talk about as far as our players. It's a big day for Southwestern. I'm telling you right now, we're very excited about as far as the people that we've got coming in. Very excited about as far as the people being here as far as listening to this. I want to thank a few people first. First off, I'd like to thank Doug Self as far as setting this up. Our SID does an awesome job as far as getting everything lined up, so we're very excited about having that. And our athletic director, Todd Thurman, is here, a great supporter. I mean, you know, that's one thing I'm very lucky about, guys, is having great support as far as here at Southwestern. And so when you got a guy like that, you know, it makes our job a little bit easier as far as helping us as far as getting through things. A lot of special guests in here. You know, I'd like to recognize one person for sure, and that's Kelly Litch. This is her last one, but I'm going to make sure I invite her back, everyone that we have from here on out, so she'll be here. So very thankful. And Ruben is here as far as also with the athletic department, so very glad. Last group of guys that I think that need to be recognized every time are my assistant coaches. You know, we're signing a great class. We're very excited about as far as the young men that are here. And it's all because of these guys. I'm just telling you, you know, we talk about as far as breaking it down, looking at job. These guys had spent hours and hours and hours of time watching video, evaluating, calling. They went way out of their way. And like I said, I'm very fortunate, very blessed to have these young men and guys on my staff, and they do an awesome job. And I think these guys need to be recognized on this because when I read about as far as some of these players we've got, I promise you it's things that these guys have done. And so I'm very, very blessed, very fortunate they are with us. So I want to go ahead and get started with this. The first group I want to recognize before I get into as far as the signees is that, you know, I want to recognize as far as our mid-year signees that we did bring in as far as right after Christmas. So I'm going to go down through this list right here with them. We'll talk about as far as our defensive backs first. Capenna Olson, a young man that's come from Golden West College. He's a strong safety. One thing we like about him is he is a great leader. I mean, since we've had him in as far as in the weight room, as far as in the conditioning stuff, you can just tell that he does have that great as far as leadership about him, and we just love that. And so I think that's going to be a big asset for us as far as for the springtime when we go through spring football. So, you know, a guy that we're very pleased to have. Another defensive back that we brought in is Javon Mitchell. Javon Mitchell is from Hartnell College. A young man that, like I said, he brings good size in here. You know, we're really pleased about that. He's about 6'1", 180. Today, you know, you're starting to see bigger and bigger as far as corners that you're going to see going up against because you're playing bigger and bigger receivers. So it's great to have guys like this come in here. He has great ability as far as the cover. We really like that he's the type of guy that's going to make an impact this spring as far as on our defense. So we're very excited about having him. We also brought in as far as the two linebackers. First one is a young man named Zach Maynard. Zach, we brought him in from NEO. He is from Davis, Oklahoma. I've known him when since he's little. His dad used to coach forever as far as down here at Hobart. And so we're very glad to get him in there. He's at NEO. He was an all-conference linebacker for him. He's got good size, about 225 pounds, 6'2". Thing about it, like I said, he comes from a family that understands as far as the game, as far as a coaching family, and understands as far as what we need, and really it works very hard. Other one is Marlon Williams. He's a kid that came in from Highland Community College. He's 6 foot, about 225, 230 pound linebacker too. He's big and strong. We like as far as his technique. We just feel like that, you know, the strength of our defense last year was a lot of our linebackers. We just want to add a few more after losing a couple. So we're very fortunate about that. So those are the four guys we brought in for the defensive side. On the offensive side, we brought in, as far as a transfer, we got a quarterback named Corbin Jones. He's a 6'1", 215 pound quarterback. He transferred from Emporia State. He is from Yukon High School, an all-state quarterback, just a young man that just wants to go somewhere where he can play. He's had great competition up there as far as Emporia. He started for him when they got into playoffs this year. But he wants to go to a place where he'd have a better chance as far as that he thinks that he can play a little bit more, and that's why he's here. So we're kind of excited about having him. We brought in two offensive linemen. Avery Richard, a 6'2", 275-pound guard. He is a transfer in from Highland Community College too. He played up as far as in Kansas. He's the type of guy that we feel like is going to be pushing these guys as far as in the offensive line, especially at the guard position. So we want to increase that a little bit more. Another offensive line we brought in was Zach Britton. He's 6'3", 305 pounds. He's an offensive tackle. He is a transfer from Northwestern State University in Louisiana. Played Keller Central High School. He's another one that we feel like is going to give us a little bit more depth and push as far as the offensive line, especially the offensive tackle this spring. Then we also brought in a tight end, Kawajo Bonsu. This young man is a transfer from Minot State. He is 6'7", 268 pounds, a very large person. All right. Thing is, we just feel like that we think that he's going to cause some problems. I know a big as far as that we need to find out as far as on our team on the offensive side is replacing an All-American like Ryan Corbin, and we hope this guy can come in there, especially this spring, and kind of help us out on there. And help us push it a little bit more. So those are the guys we brought in as far as midterm, and we're very excited. They're on campus right now. They're working very hard, so we're very excited about as far as what we've got. I'm going to kind of go as far as our commitments. I'm going to go over the defense first. Last year I think I started with the offense, so I'm going to go with the defensive guys that we committed today that we're very excited about. I'll start out with the defensive backs. First one is Dominique Blue. He's a 6'2", 210-pound safety from Muldrow, Oklahoma. This guy is an all-round athlete. I know when we watch film on him and talk with their coaches, guys, he can play on either side of the football. I mean, a very explosive guy when he has the ball in his hand. I know he had to play quarterback a lot for him this year, and their coach said they had to. They had to put the best athlete in there. The thing is, he's very physical. He has great ball skills. He understands the game. We feel like that he's going to be the type of guy that's going to come in as far as in playing strong safety, and with his speed, that's one thing that's been great about our defensive speed, and this guy adds a little bit to that. Another defensive back we're bringing in is C.J. McGee. He is from Dallas Skyline. He is a son of a coach. The very smart safety. One thing we like about him again is his athleticism. You'll find out a lot of these players we're bringing in, especially I feel like as far as these defenses, they play a lot of other things. I mean, they're athletes, and I think that's one thing that we want to make sure that we kind of hit a little bit more this past season, was trying to get a little bit more athletic type of person in the back end. And we just feel like that's going to make a big progress, and we think we've done that. Next one, a defensive back, is Wyatt Broxton. Wyatt is a 6'2", 185-pounder. From Sanger, Texas. We've got to know this young man a lot as far as last year, as far as comes to our camps. We feel like that he's going to play a corner. He's a big, strong kid. He played quarterback for us as far as Sanger. Heck of an athlete. I mean, we like as far as the way he moves. He's got great speed. So again, I think, like I said, we've made a big progress as far as in our secondary with these young men, and that's going to help us out. Another defensive back we've gotten in here is Quentin Gale. He's a 5'11", 175-pound corner from Arlington, Seguin. One thing about it, like I said, he has great potential, and I hate using that word, but he does. I mean, this guy right here, his technique, his ball skills, things that are going through there, we think he's going to be a very strong corner. So you can see that, we feel like we've got some guys in here that's going to beat that up, and we think that's going to help out our defense next year. Another defensive back we got signed was Cedric Jones. He's a 5'11", 210-pound free safety rover kid from Arlington High. He's a 2-year starter. They run the same defense as us, so he knows exactly what he's going to go on. So I think that's going to be an advantage for him as far as coming in. Like I said, he's got physical play. We feel like that he's the type of kid, too, out of all these guys that come in that might have a great shot as far as playing a lot for us next year. So you can see that defensive back was a big issue, not an issue, but a thing that we felt like that we need to get better at as far as with this offseason. Like I said, you saw with the guys we brought in, and now you look at these defensive backs that we got coming in. We're very excited about it. On the defensive line, we've got a few in here. The first one is Duran Carver, and this kid is from Perryton, Texas. He was a first-team All-State guy from Perryton. Like I said, had a lot of tackles last year as far as on his team. Had 19 sacks, 11 forced fumbles this year. He runs a 10.84 in the 100-meter dash. So, guy, like I said, he's got speed. One thing I know, we're talking with Coach Helton about him, he says, Coach, he goes, he takes off and he runs people down. Like I said, last year he had 19 sacks. And, you know, when we talk about a guy that he's got potential as far as to get a lot bigger, so we're pretty excited about having him. Cody Ward is a young man we got from Hartshorn, Oklahoma. He was a defensive lineman of the year in this point right in here. He's got a great motor. He's 6'3", about 215. You know, a lot of these guys we're talking about, you know, these defensive linemen to look at, they have the body frame that we feel like the guys that get up in here, get 3 square meals a day and get in the weight room guys, they're going to put on a lot of weight. And so that's one thing about that we looked at right in here. These guys are, most of the time you'll see, as far as I know, with Coach Helton, he looks for these guys that have a strong motor as far as getting around, and, you know, he's proved that one. Another one we got in, Bailey McKay. He is from Claremore, Sequoia. He's 6 foot, 250 pounder. He's been a 3-year starter. He was an all-state honor as far as this year as a senior. He's got great technique. He's got great effort. You know, I know their head coach over there at Sequoia. They have great football teams there, and they're very well coached. And he's a young man that, yes sir, no sir type of kid when he came in, and very impressed as far as with his mannerism. And so we're very excited about having a young man like that with our program. Joe Gonzalez is another one from Justin Northwest, Justin, Texas. He's a 250 pounder. He's another one guy, like I said, one thing that we look at as far as on the defensive line is having guys that can explode off that ball. These young men right in here, that's one thing that we looked at. And I know when Coach Helton was going through there, we wanted guys that can explode and make things happen. He's done a great job as far as recruiting them. The other one we have is Jordan Hill. He's a 6'2", 230 pounder from Rockwall Heath. Like I said, he comes from a great program. Matter of fact, I think we got 3 young men as far as from that high school guys that have signed with us. So we're very excited about it. He's good size, he's fast, you know, as far as great effort. And so we're very pleased about this. I mean, this is a young man too, and we have some other guys, you know, we talked about as far as how we compete against other people. This young man had opportunities to go to a couple other schools as far as people we play, and he selected us, so we're very excited about having him. The linebacker spot, guys, we signed basically 3 young men that we feel like that can come in here, and we feel like we'll develop and keep it stronger. Like I said, we just feel like that our linebacker core here at Southwestern is probably a strength on our defense. I mean, I love watching them play, and they just keep getting better on this one. Brandon Detterville. He is from Mesquite High School, Mesquite, Texas. He's an all-district player right in here. Again, he's 5'10", 195, a guy that has a lot of speed. And that's one thing, like I said, we want to look at. We want to get some guys out there that can run the football. And that's going to make a difference as far as people we play. Other one is Clay Wilkerson. Clay is a 5'11", 200-pound kid from Rockwall Heath. Another one is we're very excited about. He's an all-district player. Again, like I said, he's fundamentally sound. I mean, you know, when you take a look at these guys, he's one guy we feel like that will come in here that he knows exactly what he's going to have to do. And so that's going to make as far as teaching him a little bit better. Other one is Colton Wright. He's a kid from Tahlequah High School. He's 6'1", 215 pounds. Very athletic young man, an all-conference player. The thing is, you know, there in Tahlequah, he was also their starting running back, and, you know, rushed for about 1,300 yards rushing for them. So he's a great athlete, and so that's one thing about it. You know, I know that when the defensive guys sat down and tried to come up as far as people we wanted guys that we believe were going to make our defense better. We were guys that go along there that have great speed, very athletic, and I think the people we play, this is going to be a very big benefit to us. So we're very excited about these young men that have signed today, so on the defensive side. All right? And when I get done, we'll have, you know, if you have any questions or anything about some of these guys, we can talk about them, all right? So now I'm going to kind of go over there to the offensive side. On the offensive side, you know, we have signed some good young players. You know, first one I want to talk about, let's talk about the quarterback. We've signed 2 young men today, quarterback. The first one is Cooper Free. Cooper Free is a 6'1", 180-pound quarterback from Sharon Mutual High School. He's been a 4-year starter on that one. Sharon Mutual guys have been in the finals probably about 2 or 3 times in the last 4 years with him at the quarterback. You know, he's a guy that he's had over 9,000 yards total yards on offense, and accounted for 141 touchdowns in his career. Matter of fact, he led the 8-man in rushing this year as far as from the quarterback spot. Very good athlete, guys. I guarantee you, we really like as far as what we've seen about even as far as the football. But he's a guy that we think is going to come in here and as far as push it. Another kid we're very fortunate to have as far as quarterback is Clark Ashmore. Clark Ashmore is a 6'1", 180-pound kid from Wellington High School in Wellington, Texas. Guy's a unique person. I mean, when you take a look at his high school career, guys, was 40-2. That was his record, guys. He won 2 state championships as far as their quarterback as a starter there. They were 14-0 this year as far as this season, state champion there. Very intelligent, athletic quarterback. Like I said, guys, he's a 3-time All-State selection there as far as in Texas. A young man guy, like I said, that I know that he's leaning towards as far as West Texas, and we're very fortunate we got this young man. I mean, he's a great kid. Like I said, I think they got on the you go on the website. It's got a lot of his stats as far as things that he's done. But you know, this year in the finals, well, I'm thinking we watched that the other day in the finals. They played at Texas Stadium. They were down 17-0 and won 42-17. All right, and one reason because this young man and also the running back, we were able as far as the kid here too. So those are 2 quarterbacks that we did sign. We're very fortunate about them. Running backs, we feel like that we've really increased as far as that. I mean, we've got some good young guys coming back as far as this next year, but these guys right here will push them. We really feel that way. First one is a guy named Chance Woodbury. Chance Woodbury is a 6'1", 240-pound running back from Carl Albert High School in Oklahoma City. Guys, he's very large. He's a guy that I know when I talked to Coach Day about him, he goes, Coach, this is the guy that we always kind of wanted, you know, in a certain situation, a big guy that can carry the football and go. You know, he's a guy that he played about as many positions you can think of there at Carl Albert. They won state last year, and so like I said, we're very glad that he's come to this way right in here. So he's come from a winning program. He looks like that, but he's one that we looked at as far as in a stacked backfield. A lot of times in short yardage, he's that type of guy that we've been looking for, and so we're very excited about having him. Next one is Kendron Banks. He's a 5'9", 180-pound guy. He was at Proctor Academy Prep School, New Hampshire. He graduated, guys, as far as high school, down at Pierce High School in Richardson, Texas. But he didn't get the offers he felt like, so guys, he went to his prep school, and I hope that come through there. And guy, like I said, we're very fortunate to land him in here. One thing about him is that he has a strong, as far as background with Southwestern. His uncle, his grandpa, all of them played football here at Southwestern. Most of them, as a matter of fact, his grandpa, I believe, holds the record for most yardage in a game, and his uncle holds the record for most yardage rushing as far as at Southwestern. So the Hicks is their last name. So this is a very good-looking young man as far as his size, everything go through there. He's going to have the skills as far as to do it. We got a kick out of as far as at the Hall of Fame this last weekend. His grandpa was here, and they said, well, you know, one of the coaches asked me, or is he as good as you? And he said, he's faster than I am. So, I mean, guys, like I said, we're very excited about having a guy as far as has a lot of background to Southwestern to help us carry on his tradition. Next one is Dennis Adroil. He is 5'11", 180-pound kid from just northwest in Texas. He's another guy that's come back in here. Again, you know, when we watch film on him, you know, a lot of times, guys, when we watch a lot of film and people don't understand how many players we look at every year on this. And I mean, you know, I try to explain to people that, you know, sometimes on my computer I got about 750 names as far as senior high schools, and I know some of these other guys got other ones, but, you know, when you put certain people in there and you see them do something, guys, when we first time watched him, it was automatic, guys. We want to make sure to contact this young man, so we're very glad that he's coming up here. The other one is Terry Gilbreth. Terry is a 5'9", 170-pound guy from Wellington High School. He is one who, as far as played with, as far as Clark Ashmore, helped him win a state championship. In the state finals, guys, he rushed for 189 yards, scored 2 touchdowns, and caught a pass in their game. In his 2 years, as far as playing for him at running back, he's rushed for 5,300 yards and 77 touchdowns just in his junior and senior year. So very, you know, like I said, very excited about having this young man coming in. So we feel like those 2 positions, quarterback and as far as running back, guys, we've made a bigger progress as far as increasing that a little bit. All right? Tight end is the next position I want to kind of visit about. We know, like I said, guys, we brought in as far as one JUCO guy, our transfer comes in, but we feel like that we need to make sure as far as get that. So basically, guys, what we've done today, we've signed 2 high school kids and 1 junior college player today as far as the tight end spot. First one is Brett Hayes. He's a 6'3", 227-pound kid from Palomar Junior College in California. Guys, he's a very physical young man. The film we've watched him at, I mean, the first part of the film we even saw guys, you ought to see him block. He sticks on there, guys, and that stood out in our minds. So we feel like that he's the type of guy that he can come in there. We wanted somebody that was very going to be physical enough, where it's going to help as far as in the running game. But guys, he has great hands where he can catch the football too. So we feel like that he's going to come in looking as far as trying to compete for that starting job. Another one, Sam Phillips, is a 6'5", 220-pound young man from Clinton High School in Arkansas. Sam came several times to some of our games this year. Big, tall kid. He's got the body, guys, where he's going to put on about 20, 25 more pounds. He's got that frame on there. We just like as far as his skills that he has. He's a big target for our quarterbacks. Watching game film on him, guys, there were several catches that he made, guys, where there's people hanging all over him and he's still making a play. So we're very fortunate that we're getting this young man. The other one is Chris Click. He's 6'3", 232-pounder from Cherokee High School. He was on the state championship team this year in Class C. You know, a guy, like I said, he's the one that played defensive end and also plays as far as tight end. And like I said, he comes from a winning program. He's got a winning attitude about things that he does. He's very physical. Another thing, guy, like we like about him, I mean, our tight ends, you know, we like to have some guys go through, but we were looking for some guys a little bit more physical, you know, that we can add in there, guys, and go in and out as far as in our running game. So we feel like that Chris is one of those guys that he can eventually get that. And he's one of those guys that, from the time that we started recruiting this young man, he wanted to come and be a Bulldog. He wanted to come and be a Bulldog. I remember after the state championship game, that, you know, he was talking to his parents about that. This is where I want to come and play. So, you know, we're very excited about getting him in here. At the wide receiver spot, basically, you'll see on there, guys, we've signed 2 guys. You know, we felt like that 2 positions on the offensive side, we feel like the numbers, we already had them there. Offensive line, we didn't lose anybody, so let's fill in a few there. On the receiver spot, guys, we got about 3 or 4 guys that didn't even play last year that were as far as red shirt or maybe as far as academic stuff, that guys, they could have played and probably started this past season. So like I said, when we look at this, guy, we know we didn't have to go through it, but we feel like that we made a big as far as upgrade, as far as in our wide receiver spot, so we're excited about that one. First one is J.R. Omiji. J.R. is a 6', 180-pound Arlington Martin kid from down in Texas. I think he's taller than 6 foot. I was real surprised when we kind of brought him in, and as far as his size, I mean, I thought he was probably as tall as I was on this one. But he's a very shifty player. Like I said, one thing we like about it as far as watching the films, when he gets the ball in his hands, he does a lot of great things, guys. Very athletic. Like I said, you know, we can do some unbelievable things right there. He'll play on the outside slot for us right there, and his older brother played at the University of Kansas. So, again, we're pretty excited about getting this young man in. The other one is Gerald Murray, 6'1", 187-pound kid from PCO, Putnam City in Oklahoma City. He's another one, shifty receiver that we like as far as putting his hand in there. You know, when we watch these guys, these are the type of guys you see as far as on returning kickoffs, returning punts, stuff like that, guys. They do a lot of great things, and they're very exciting. And I mean, you know, when you talk about as far as how many receivers that these guys have looked at, these 2 are probably the best, or they are the best ones that we've probably seen. All right, so we're very excited as far as to get these young men in here. All right. The other position I want to talk about real quick, guys, will be our offensive line. Again, I think Coach Hayden had the hardest job of everybody. I mean, when you didn't lose anybody off as far as a team now, let's just kind of get some guys in there to kind of give us a little bit more depth, and that's what we've done. I believe we had 5 signed today. The first one is Carroll O'Neill. He's a 6'1", 275-pound guy from Byron Nelson High School in Texas. Again, like I said, very aggressive run blocker, uses hands there. One thing we really liked about him more than anything else is that how he attacked it on the next level. When I talk about the next level towards linebackers and strong safeties, he came off the ball very quick, gets up there and makes a big play for us. So we feel like that he's a young man that's going to come in and develop for us. Chase Snyder's a 6'3", 270-pound offensive tackle that comes from Mansfield Summit High School in Texas. Big frame. He's a kid that we know is going to put on a little bit more weight. An athletic tackle. One thing about him that we liked about him more than anything was his pass rush. As far as not pass rush, but his pass blocking. All right. So like I said, we're pretty excited about as far as what he can do, and he runs very good, very well for his size. Chris Key is another one, 6'2", 285-pound guard from Justin Northwest High School. This kid is very strong. In the weight room, he's one of the top ones down there in Texas as far as in their powerlifting and stuff right in here. You know, he can play center, he can play guard, he can play tackle. That's what we love about this. And that's one thing I know when Coach Hayter recruits a lot of these guys, he likes to look at them where they can play other positions so we can put the best athletes on the field. And that's one thing we like about Chris. Justin Bigelow is a 6 foot, 265 pound play offensive center. Played at Denison High School. He's very strong. He's another one like there. Medals at the Texas Powerlifting Guild. Great blocker. His dad, Gary Bigelow, played here at Southwestern, so we get another guy that, you know, as far as that has a little bit more of ties to as far as Southwestern. I know when they came up, they were very excited about as far as being here, and very excited about as far as coming here. The other one is Ace McMahon. Ace McMahon is a 6 foot, 260 pound, also plays center at Ringling High School here in Ringling, Oklahoma. His career, guys, at high school, he went 26-3 with the state championship. They were state runner-ups the last 2 seasons at Ringling. Good run blocker. I mean, you know, right now we got Matt Ferris, one of our running backs from as far as Ringling, and he was one of the main blockers for him when he was in high school. So again, you know, we've got a pretty good selection right in there to help us get a little bit more depth on our offensive line. All right. The other thing that we had, the last ones I want to talk about is our special teams. Is one that we were very instrumental as far as making sure that we got. We felt like it's very important for us to fill this position. And so we've signed 2 kickers that we are very excited about getting, and we've also signed 1 young man as far as a deep snapper that we're, like I said, these guys are wanting to be able to come in here and compete right away. First kicker we got is Justin Thorpe. Justin is from Thomas, Oklahoma. He's an all-conference player. This year he was 27 out of 26 extra points. He kicked 2 field goals. One was a 55-yarder. He was injured this year as far as his leg, so that kind of hampered him a little bit. He hurt it last year as far as in the summertime at a kicking camp. The guy, like I said, in his career, he kicked 17 out of 34 field goals. He's 189 out of 213 extra points. In his kickoffs, he had 76 touchbacks, so the guy's got a very strong leg. I know the first game of the season this year against Alva, I know that Coach Hay went up there, and he kept texting me. He goes, every time he kicked it off, it was out of the end zone. So, all right, so we know this guy has a great leg. He was selected this last season, as far as back in January. He played in an OD All-American Bowl in Orlando, Florida. So the guy has a lot of different things. I mean, this young man was recruited by the defending national champion, Northwest Missouri State was involved with them. So, like I said, talking him in as far as stay here at home, guys, it was a big plus for us. Our other kicker is Dalton Jackson from Willis, Texas. Again, he was an all-conference player this year. He averaged 39.4 yards a punt. He was 35 out of 35 in extra points. He's 6 out of 7 in field goals. Thing is about him, guys, he's an athlete. I mean, this young man, we watched film on him where guys, they put him at quarterback, and sometimes as far as in the Wildcat, he played receiver. He had 41 catches for 502 yards and 4 receptions, so he is an athlete. That's what we love about him. I mean, the one thing that I was excited about when I was watching as far as in his punting, guys, there was one time the snap was bad. They were rushing him. He picked the ball up, and guys, and he has speed. And he took off, went around the corner, and just about scored a touchdown off of that. So he's very athletic. So we're very excited about having him. In his career, he averaged 37.2 yards a punt. He's 52 out of 54 in extra points. And he was 12 out of 14 in field goals, and he also kicked a 50-yard field goal in as far as in the game. So, again, these 2 kickers have just made us a little bit better. I know we got Michael Perez coming back, but we understand how important this position is. And so that's what, that matter of fact, guys, that's probably my main, as far as objective, as far as in recruiting, was to find these kickers. We also did sign, as far as a deep snapper, Zach Moore. Zach Moore is a 6 foot, 230 pounder from Kingfisher. He's a starting offensive lineman. As far as their Kingfisher this year, they were state champions. The guy, like I said, we're getting him here as far as a long snapper. I mean, he also can play on the offensive line, but I told him our first priority is right there is the long snapping. He's in the last 3 years, he goes down there as far as there's about 2 or 3 of those long snapping camps down in the Dallas area that he goes to every year. Very won that one. He was also competed in the last month in competition in Las Vegas, a snapping competition, which they took all the area as far as the high school kids, as far as deep snappers in there, and he was in the top 25% of that as far as in that competition in Las Vegas last month. So very excited about these young men as far as what we go through there. So these are young men that we have signed today. You know, we're very pleased with it. You know, we talk about this as far as, okay, how many kids we've signed, all this stuff. The guys, like I said, you know, 2 years ago, I believe it was, or 3 years ago, we signed 55 people. Last year, guys, we signed 43. The thing is, what's great about it for us, guys, is that we don't have to sign that many people. We've got a lot of our young kids are still, we got 82 still on campus right now. So one thing about it, over the years, we started developing as far as a group of young men that stay, we want to come here and stay. So really, guys, like I said, we probably could have gone out and signed, you know, 40 or 50. But like I said, we are very fortunate we're at that stage in our program. A lot of these players, you can see, come from winning programs. We feel like that is very important. You know, we want kids in here to know how to win. I mean, that's a main objective for us, is we want to win. We told them that we want to bring them in as far as lift us up. And so that's where we are right now. Last year at this time, I was telling everybody we were tired of being right here. We want to be right here. And we feel like this group right here that we got in here, the guy's going to push us up to the next level. So we're very excited about it. All right? So these are young men that we've got. They're future Bulldogs. They're all excited about it. I know the coach is excited about it. And we can't wait till they get on campus. All right? Any questions?
Is it going to be, I guess just with last year, you didn't get to play any of your freshmen last year just because of the talent you had coming back. You guys lost a lot more seniors this past year, a lot more important ones. So do you have a feeling that you're going to see some of these guys, especially
we might, but we also feel like, too, that, you know, we probably had about, like I said, on the offense side, we could think of about 4 or 5 guys on the offense side, and we can think of probably about 3 or 4 guys on the defense side that didn't play this year because of red shirt and stuff that we feel like can step in there. You know, that's one thing that we've been very fortunate about right now, is that with the numbers, you know, we don't have to go out and try to bring in 10, 15 JUCO kids. And so, you know, we're able, as far as to develop our kids, and our kids are believing as far as our system, they're staying with us. I mean, you know, last year I think we only had 1 freshman. I think Perez is the only one that I can think of that, as far as freshmen to play. The year before that we had 2. And so, like I said, you know, that's a great problem for us to have. I mean, because now we get these young guys in here and let them know that, hey, you know, we want to develop them. We want them to get stronger in the off season and everything. And spring football is very important. But, and the other side of that, too, is that all these guys we talked about today, we tell them up front, you better come in here ready to compete right now. I mean, that's the bottom line. We don't want them to think they're going to be red shirt when they come in. We want them to come in and compete right now. We feel like if these guys come in and compete right now with what the talent level they are, it's going to make the other guys go down. And I tell them up front, these coaches know too, we don't care if you're a senior, we don't care if you're a freshman. And we're going to put the best football players out on that football field. And lately, like I said, we've been very fortunate where we haven't had to use a lot of young guys. But if we have to, we will definitely put them in there.
Now, you talked about the tight end spot. You know, obviously that opened up things for you this last year, just with the amount of attention that people paid to Ryan.
Right.
You know, so are you guys just trying to find somebody else in there, or another couple guys that can do something similar?
As you can see, you know, we're looking as far as different levels at it. We know we can't replace a Ryan Corbin. I mean, you know, an All-American player like that. I wish we could sit around and say that. I mean, you know, it took Ryan about 3 years to get to that stage of his career. So we know that's going to be a very difficult thing for us to do. But the thing is that we know that we got some guys in here that, you know, that we can build a lot of things around. I mean, you know, there are several things that we feel like on the offensive side, as far as with the running game that we're going to have next year. With you know, we had 2 young men that redshirted this year that they were just as good as those guys that were playing. And so we're very excited about sort of what they're going to do in the springtime. But now we can take these guys coming in right now and develop them, and hopefully we can get a guy like that will come in here and be like as far as Ryan Corbin. So we're excited about as far as find out on that. And that's what's a great challenge as far as in coaching, is when you lose a guy like that, to see if you can replace him.
When you look at this list, are there any of these players on here that we wanted him, but we didn't think we'd get him? But they're so excited.
That's so true, and that's what I'm saying. People don't understand as far as how the recruiting situation goes. About as far as, okay, you know, all these kids have a lot of other people. I mean, you know, they got other people talking about them. And that's one thing that we're very pleased with right now, is that, yeah, you know, there's some guys that we're out there that we were recruiting that, you know, we might have lost to another school here. I mean, it's amazing how many Oklahoma kids want to go out of state now. And so the thing is that we won some battles this year against some teams that we would have lost to before. Let's like Justin Thorpe. I mean, he was very interested as far as in Northwest Missouri State, the defending national champions. And I say that we won that battle there. I mean, I don't know if they would offer him right there, but he saw as far as that. Hey, come. My big thing on there is come home. I mean, be around here. A lot of people can be able to come and see you play on that one. But I do know that the other kicker from down as far as Willis, Texas, that he was leaning towards Midwestern and Tarleton. And, and so, I mean, to get him up here, I know his dad being an alumni here helped us out. But we were able to win as far as that battle because I know that he had offers to those 2 places. So we were able to get that. And then we also talked about as far as some of our other players that we've looked in there. I know we've won some battles against as far as like Henderson. We got a couple players that we knew that Henderson was big on there. So again, like I said, when you get these players right in here, it's a battle. All right, it's a battle as far as to get them through here. But there's a handful of these guys in here that when we found out we were getting them, we were very surprised and very excited about it. I'm telling you right now, the kids from it are out there as far as in the Panhandle. West Texas was all over them. The quarterback and the running back, and to get those guys to come here, that's a big plus for us.
You got a good mixture of junior college guys in there along with these freshmen. How is it? Is that the way you want to build your program? You don't have to rely on all freshmen. You don't have to rely on junior college guys. You can kind of
right, and that's where we're very fortunate. I mean, because we talk about that. I think our second year we brought in 18 junior colleges, I believe, and out of those 18, about 14 of them came in here and played for us right then and made us better. The next year we brought in about 15 JUCO guys, and out of those 15 right in there, I couldn't get rid of 12 of them fast enough. I mean, so you just kind of roll the dice on that type of deal. But the thing is that, when you build a program, and that's something that it's taken me a while to figure this stuff out because, like I said, I have no patience. And I know Coach Thurman's always saying, hey, have some patience. You got to build this program right here. And I have none. But I know we had to bring those in there. But now we're at the stage right now, guys, like I said, we can bring JUCO guys in there to give us a little bit more as far as experience in a certain way where we can develop our younger guys. And that's one thing we're very excited about. That's the thing about spring football. It is such a big time for our kids, especially those freshman kids, to find out now what they can do. Because they know that, hey, they're not going to go down there and run a scout team over here. They're not going to run a scout team over here. They're competing now against our best. And so it's big time. I mean, there's going to be great competition this spring. And bringing in these JUCO kids that we bring in and those transfers right in here, it just gives you a little bit more as far as depth, especially in the springtime, as far as for those guys to develop.
Based on what you said earlier about Corbin Jones, are you saying that he's in the quarterback conversation when you come into the spring here, like in that full-fledged battle?
We're hoping so. We're hoping so. I mean, the thing is that, we feel like that, to me, that the 2 positions on the offensive side that I think are going to be, well, actually there's 3 that I think are going to be very exciting to watch this spring are going to be the quarterback spot. Mm-hmm. I also feel like as far as the receiver spot, I mean, we got 3 receivers that, they didn't play last year, redshirt, academic one way or the other, but now they're ready to go, and those guys, they could have they played there. And then at the running back spot, I mean, we've got a couple of young men that were redshirt last year that they can play. They can play. So we're very excited about that as far as what they can do. So, that's what as far as the springtime, as far as that we're looking at. So we're very excited about as far as what those guys are going to be able to play.
A lot of times 8-man quarterbacks, you see them recruited as athletes, but you guys are starting them out as a quarterback. It sounds like Cooper Free.
Oh yeah, Cooper can play. I mean, that's the thing, you watch him. I mean, we're talking about a guy that's, been a 4-year starter, a guy that he knows as far as how to win. I mean, he's their team that was in the playoffs, in the semifinals, and the finals almost every year that he was in high school. And like I said, you watch film on him, and I mean, he's not afraid to tuck the ball, go down there, but he's not afraid to throw the football. And and one thing about it you got to keep in mind is that a lot of times he didn't have the receivers that he's going to have up here, so that's going to make a big difference for him to play. But he'll learn the game. I mean, I think playing quarterback as far as an 8-man making the transition is a lot easier than a lineman playing 8-man and making the transition. I really do. I think because most time as far as an 8-man, a lot of times it's, okay, I'm going to block this guy right in here. We've got a couple right now that they're having to learn how to pass block right now. And so I think that's going to be a deal. But I think he's the type of kid, as far as athletic ability, that he's going to come in here and give it a shot.
You were talking about your wide receiver depth. You had some guys that you said didn't really, because of red shirts or whatever, and you only went after 2. Did you feel like you addressed all your needs?
Oh yeah, we feel like that, because that was one the offensive line and wide receivers were the 2 spots that we really knew that we were going to be, we didn't have to really go out and just find those. Well, now these 2 guys are pretty exceptional. Those 2 guys right there, bumped us up. I mean, when we talk about upgrading, yeah, they upgraded us. I guarantee you that. Thing is that we had a redshirt kid and about 2 or 3 other guys that can play that did, they could have played this year if they could have been able to. All right, but so we feel like that's going to make a big difference as far as what we're going to look at.
When you started the recruiting process, you were looking at your team, what you lost, and where your weak spots were. Did you feel like you addressed all those positions?
Well, I feel like we have, and I still think, and we're going to talk about it tomorrow in our meeting as far as with the coaches. We're going to sit down and look at as far as the people we've signed, see where we got to look at. I know. I know that we'll probably still sign 2 or 3 guys. I feel like that. I know with Coach Hilton, he's talking about as far as looking at a couple more defensive linemen. I feel that's going to be that way. Now I think there's 1 or 2 as far as the secondary. It's amazing, guys, how many phone calls we're getting right now about people. Hey, you full. You're looking for people. So there's still people, a lot of people out there looking on that part. But we're going to look at our numbers. We want a certain amount of number. We don't want 150 guys. We don't want 130 guys. Our numbers, we want it to be 116, and that's what we're aiming for.
As far as Woodbury goes, he's an interesting kid at 240 pounds, and you said, hey, let's play him at tailback, those short yardage situations. Is there a chance he plays fullback as well for you?
Yeah, I'm sure he can. I'm sure he will.
Look at it down the line.
Yeah, we're just excited. When we looked at that guy, that was that one guy we always talked about. We wish he had on 3rd down and 1. Okay, he's going to get you a yard. And he's the type of guy right in there. And he will. I think he's the type of kid that can play a lot of the H-back just like old Ryan Corbin did in some cases there. But right now, we want to bring him in there as far as running back and see what he can do.
Gilbreth from Wellington is an incredibly fast kid.
Right.
Sub 11, 100 meters, do you see him fitting in as a returner as well?
Oh, yeah. We've seen that. And that's one thing about it. Out of those running backs, I think 2 of them there, and I know the 2 receivers right there, those guys, we've seen them as far as return kickoffs and punts. So, we looked at a lot of these guys, how they can help us out in other areas too, as far, especially on special teams too.
Talk about your defensive backs. I know you play a lot of spread and offenses and everything. Are these some guys that can match up with a lot of those receivers that those other teams have? Oh yeah,
that's one thing that, like I said, everybody's got these big receivers, and that's one thing that Coach Trotters look for as far as these corners that are, and you see we got some couple of guys 6'1", 6'2", and that's something pretty big as far as right now, as far as in our league, as far as trying to find those corners that size. If you get a guy in there to go up there, because they're going to match up against those big old receivers, and it's great to have those guys because they'll win a lot of more battles. A lot of times last year we would look out there and we'd have a guy that's about 5'8" having to cover someone 6'4", and that's because we had no other choice. But right now, like I said, we feel like that we've got some good guys coming in. We've got those guys that came in as far as at the break. These guys can play, and so we're very excited about as far as how that. And I think it made our defense better right now with bringing these guys into the secondary.
The linebackers you brought in seem pretty talented, especially the JUCO guys. Is there a log jam there with just a couple of spots?
One thing I know that Coach Hilton does with that is that, a lot of times, like Jim O'Brien's a great example, Collier Ward last year, is that, we can use those guys as far as defensive ends. They're athletic enough guys where, I know there's some deals as far as that Coach Hilton does as far as blitzes and stuff where he'll have those guys walk off. Jimbo intercept that pass and ran it in there because but he was athletic enough to do that. And so I think that's one thing we look at on that one. Okay, yeah, it looks like we have a lot of linebackers, but again, in the last couple of years, we moved a couple of those guys as far as defensive ends. We put the best players out there, and they may be one of those guys that we feel like that will be able to do that. Anything else? Well, guys, thank you very much for coming. Like I said, we're very excited. It's a great day to be a Bulldog. And like I said, we can't wait for spring football. And do not clap in the back, all right? Thank you guys very much. Appreciate you coming.